cores early on. Omega's got a lot more flexibility now. They can work out the mid matchup here for Mac, get something to deal with the Ember Spirit, help them, build off their team fight with a Winter Wyvern here. And to go with a Void Spirit, which we tend to see Void Spirit versus Ember Spirit Rudder matchup, tends to go fairly evenly until you hit level 6. That's when it really pops off. Early rune control is pretty important for both sides. We just tend to see a trade on water runes and bounty runes, so not too much that can really change up unless someone really missteps. For the most part, this is relatively even. I think the one thing right now for Galaxy Racer is that we mentioned Magnus. Safe, there's still a slight possibility for a Magnus offlane as well. I think we have seen Mizu play that at least once on his offlane role. It's still definitely a possibility if they want a different safe lane core. What the big issue is for Galaxy Racer is that even with that flexibility, as you mentioned, they've got 2 cores, and into Winter Wyvern, Magnus and Ember Spirit don't feel great, especially if a good Winter's Curse comes out. These are physical damage cores. If you're powered up with Empower and you're under Winter's Curse, the target's just going to fall. So you've got a great counter pick already from Omega to help them break off that physical damage output. And Galaxy Racer go with a Wraith King, so it's looking like a Mizu Magnus after all coming out.
So now you've got 3 cores that are melee up against the Winter Wyvern, and you kind of already pointed out how difficult that can be with the Winter's Curse available. It does feel like it's going to be a rather interesting game here for GXR. Like, they may be underestimating the side of Omega Esports here in this draft. I don't know about this. It does seem kind of dangerous. Like, you're going to a Broodmother as well, who does like your melee cores, because he can just kind of run you down. But like you said, throughout these team fights, that curse is probably going to cause a lot of issues here for the side of GXR. Assuming they do get caught near each other, which I can't say it'd be too hard, because you're looking for big RPs. You've got to run up to hit these targets. We'll see if Omega Esports with this Wyvern pick's going to pay off, but it does feel quite powerful against the draft of GXR, and they don't seem to really be respecting the pick that Omega's made.
Yeah, it's rather strange. I feel like they had enough leeway there to go for a hard support, leave their last pick open. Right now, Omega's got all the options in the world to pick their Tino hero. Like, with Void Spirit, with Brood, these heroes can create a lot of space for you. And you can make something else happen here for Tino, yeah?
I just realized, John, that Tino, considering he's up against the 3 melee core lineup right now, we might see the Tino Arc Warden come out, is what I'm thinking. Because you've only got the Ember to catch it. I mean, you've got the Lion as well, but you get my point. It is pretty difficult to catch the real Arc Warden. We know Tino likes playing the hero, so there is a very high likelihood that it is going to be picked up by Omega, I believe, against the draft of Galaxy. Now, you could make the argument maybe Arc Warden could be considered a little bit greedy, but it does feel like they've got plenty of space makers here to make the space for that Arc Warden in this game if they want to go down that route. And again, I don't think they'll have enough catch to actually be able to take out the Arc Warden in the middle of a team fight.
Yeah, and there are a lot of factors if the Arc Warden does come true. Broodmother is always going to pressure one lane. We've seen this time and time again. Say in this case, you take out the top tier 1, you web up the top jungle, constantly shove in top lane and try to go for the tier 2. With an Arc Warden, you'll also have constant pressure from the mid and bot lane. It's just the nature of the Arc Warden. Once you have Travels up, a Maelstrom up, you're also just shoving out with the Tempest double. And Galaxy Racer close out with the Kotl. So they've got the Ember Kotl combination with a Sleight of Fist spam with the Empower. That is potent, especially with those Spiderlings we mentioned. But Omega, they close out with a Lifestealer instead. So they're not going too spicy with the Arc Warden. Yeah, they've got the natural vehicle and the Void Spirit. And we always kind of talk about this, but the defensive potential for a Lifestealer when you go in, instead of just going for the Infest Bomb, just saving your allies, prolonging the fights. They've got a lot of sustain with a Winter Wyvern on top. And this Lifestealer pick, it's into 2 strength heroes already. It's a Wraith King, it's a Magnus. It can scale off with damage. It's always that back and forth though. Like when the Wraith King gets AC, the Lifestealer has to match. You have to be cautious about once armor items start flying out because your bonus damage is physical. But we have seen Lifestealers kind of mitigate that anyway. Desolator pickups, AC, and you end up going for evasion as well with the Heaven's Halberd with your evasion talent. it's going to force some item choices here from GXR that they might not want to go for.
Absolutely. I don't mind the lifestealer pick here from Omega. I think it could pay off here for Tino. You're still getting a little bit worried about the Magnus, though. I mean, you've got the RP to go through the Rage. The Lion's still probably going to be a bit of an issue with the Hex out, with the Earth Spike, once that Rage is gone. Still, though, John, going into it, Game 1, first game of the day, obviously one of these teams is going to have to leave the Lootbet Pro Series Season 6 today, John. So who came out with the better draft for game number 1, in your opinion?
Oh, it's hard for me to call, mainly because we saw OB Neon prioritize first phase Brood every single time through CTM and it fell flat. Of course, Omega plays in a different way. I kind of actually like GXR's draft. Like, I love the Kotl Ember. I love that there's this Empower for the Ember, heck, and even for the Raid King. And the Raid King's one that, you know, he's got the crit. It's a pretty beefy crit. A lot of times you underestimate that damage. With a free Empower on top, you're just going to be hitting really hard in the right situation. So, I personally like GXR's draft, but on paper, I think it's rather even. Just really like seeing Kotl Ember. It's been such a long time. This used to be such a high priority combo that you just don't tend to see, and everyone wants to go to McDee's. All right.
Where are they going,
I am
John?
going. McDonald's, McDee's, McDo in the Philippines, as we say, Mike. We say McDo.
Fair enough. I mean, why the hell not? Sam H. That is a very nice brood Mother set on Sam H. Very, very scary kind of brood. Much better than the candy cane brood that we saw from the Halloween set, I want to say.
Yeah, it actually does look like a, what do you call them, redback? Are they actually red? This one's got a red back.
I mean, red backs are red. I mean, it's a brighter red, though, John. This is more of a purple.
Oh.
It's a very bright red.
It's fair. It's still a sign of danger, and we'll see if Sam H can live up to that danger. Again, with GXR, the one thing you have to worry about is early game. These guys just completely dominate to the point that even Fearless says that their early game's just way too clean. They find all these kills, they make all these movements for 25 minutes. They just need to find a way to make the game after 25 minutes work out for themselves, and they do manage to at least trade. Even on bounties, no advantage for either side. Let's see the lanes break out. Of course, Sam H and the Brood, as we've mentioned, he is laning with Shanks on this Winter Wyvern. And that's pretty potent. Like, you've got a lot of good slows coming through, especially at the level 2 spike, with Arctic Burn, with Splinter Blast up. You get those slows off with the Silk Bola, you can run down the Raid King early on, you can run down the Keeper of the Light that Paulson and In Your Dream are playing. And for this lane for GXR, they've got to be a bit cautious. Raid King in laning doesn't feel amazingly tanky. You don't have combination to play with your stun, except for lining up Illuminate. And that is powerful from Paulson, but it'll also shove out your wave. So you really have to be choosing when you use that spell here for that Kotl, unless you want to give this Brood an easier time farming up and controlling that wave.
Yeah, I mean, certainly so. Of course, we'll have a look into the mid lane as well. You've got Alacrity there up against Mac. It should be a pretty even matchup between these two. It's going to be all about getting those levels up, and I think Alacrity might have a slight advantage considering he can go for the chains and lock down Mac, but looks like he will end up going for the Sleight of Fist so he can really abuse Mac in this lane. And of course, you're going to have the Empower later on to make you just hit that much harder with that Sleight of Fist, so it definitely feels kind of worthwhile for Alacrity now to just try and max that out. And I suppose that is generally the skill build we see anyway. So no real surprises here from Alacrity or Mac.
Yeah, it's a straightforward, real mid matchup. We used to see it a lot more often in Season 1 of the DPC. Kind of tapered off, but I don't think this matchup changed at all. Just play until you're 6, look for a kill opportunity in 6, either in the opposing mid or go to the side lanes. Both Spirit Brothers are fairly good at that with their mobility on hand. And the one thing is that the Ember does have a slight edge in blocking the magic damage, whereas for Mac, he can only really block physical, so that means you're taking the full brunt of Flame Guard. Have to watch yourself if you do get run down. It gives us a chance to peek at that bot lane as well. Muzu on that Magnus along with Jokam on the line. They are up against Tino on the Lifestealer and CML on the Brimstroke. And there's some potency here for the side of GXR. We have seen this a couple of times. You land a good Earth Spike while the Lifestealer's trying to last hit. You get a good skewer back. Could lead to some kill opportunities. Issue is the wave is a bit too shoved out for that. So Jokam's just going to have to settle with the right clicks. They are sort of giving space to CML to get the pulse off, and if you do get slowed up, you have to watch that damage output.
The top lane is where the first spot does occur. Sam H able to pick a kill up onto In Your Dream, and he didn't even have the Insatiable Hunger up. He just had the Silken Bowler and the webs. But apparently they had the damage output, along with the Arctic Burn, I suppose, from Shanks. Your Dream going down early on in this Wraith King, and that's never really a great sign inside of GXR. So we'll see if they can fix up that safe lane a little bit, but definitely a great start from Omega.
And this is the power spike we were talking about. You've got level 2 up in Shanks, you've got the Splinter Blast and Arctic Burn. With the Bola, it's a lot of slow. 25% from the Silk Bola. You've got, what is it, around 22% from the Arctic Burn. If you land the Blast as well, you've got even more slow on top, 30%, so you can't run. And there's nothing the Keeper of the Light can do. He can just spam Illuminate, and that's it. So your offensive potential is there for GXR if you land a stun Illuminate, but you don't have any defensive plays, and that does leave In Your Dream in a bit of a vulnerable spot as a melee hero in this matchup. So he's going to have to play a bit more passively, maybe expect the Coddle to stack up and recover that way. But most certainly in terms of CS, he is getting some. Just has to really watch his spacing there.
And he does. Water Rune's going to spawn up. Mac will pick one up, Alacrity. He'll run to the other. Nobody going to try and deny the Water Runes away. I'll just give one each. You are approaching those level 6 marks now, so you might see the mid lane get a little bit more aggressive as soon as they hit that 6. In fact, every lane does seem to be kind of relaxed here from both sides, apart from maybe that top lane. GXI, even at this bot lane, seem more than happy to just keep farming up, because you don't really expect much from Tino and CML here on this Lifestealer and the Grimstroke. You can kind of rush in with the Inkswell, but up against the Magnus line, it's probably not the greatest idea in the world. So they'll just try and trade farm here with Mizu and Jokam. But for now, Mizu is having a very good time. I mean, it's basically free farm for the Magnus. The Tino, he's trying to get some CS in, but it is a bit tough.
Yeah, it's not a very easy lane for Lifestealer. The cleave will just out harass you. There's not much that CML wants to do there, especially since if he shows up, the control from Jokam can be much more annoying than the slows from CML and his nuke. So you have to watch that spacing. I'm looking back at Sam H on this breed. It's rather interesting. He still doesn't go for that Insatiable Hunger, going for level 2 Bola instead. So looking for the damage, looking for the slow, and the attack bonuses more than just facing off in the man fight. And I think this is starting to make him miss some kill opportunities. He runs down on In Your Dream, but without the Insatiable Hunger, he can't really win the trades. You've got a crit coming out every 5.5 seconds. You've got the Illuminate coming through. The damage is starting to pile on. So even with all this control on hand from the Broodmother, starting to feel a little bit safer for In Your Dream because of that skill build-up.
That it is. See if Sam H can really abuse this skill build-up. I mean, he got one kill earlier on, but we'll see if it pays off. Alacrity chase down Mac for a bit, but he doesn't have the chains up. So doesn't really have much mana either. Just go back to the fountain for a reset. Meanwhile, CML and Jokam are going to have a go at each other. Jokam trying to block him into the neutral stack. Not really getting that lucky, but now with the Earth Spike, he can turn around and CML has been officially outplayed. That was very cheeky from Jokam, abusing that stack, and the few hits that the stack did get off on the Grimstroke do end up adding up to enough, as now top lane. In Your Dream ends up going down, and I asked the question, John, is it going to pay off? And for now, Sam H, with this level 3 Silken Bowler, the slow is quite insane. I just had a look at In Your Dream, and he wasn't even moving.
Yep, it's too much. With a Winter Wyvern round, you land the Blast, you land the Arctic Burn. Very easy to commit. And it's just down to this laning duo. Like, Coddle plus Wraith King just cannot stop that unless you get your stun combination with Illuminate. Even then, it doesn't feel particularly amazing. So what Paulson's doing is right. He's just stacking up the jungle. He's got a bunch of triple stacks here. A lot of good farm, especially for a Magnus lineup. So this is going to be a lot of gold injection coming through for GXR. Omega has not been able to contest They are aware it's up. You're certainly not going to be able to do much about it, and Alacrity's already starting to clear it out a bit, so you're getting a nice gold injection already. And I think ideally for Omega, Sam H might just want to be roaming in, but with Tier 1 in the way, doesn't really have the webs to spare to make that happen.
Absolutely not. I do like the fact that Alacrity's taking the stacks anyway. Like, I don't think you need to leave it for In Your Dream. Alacrity's going to be the space creator anyway on this end boss, so you may as well give him the head start. In Your Dream will have plenty of time to catch up, and they can always just keep stacking up those jungle camps if you really want to. There's no real need for him to take it right now as Alacrity. Find a haste rune and we'll just chase down Shanks. Unfortunately for Shanks, he got a little bit unlucky with the rune Alacrity found. He will end up paying for it.
Yep, it's a nice simple kill for Alacrity. He's already being a bit more active on that map. You know, he's got the level advantage and he can start roaming around now.
Yeah, top lane though, Sam H able to pick off Paulson by himself. Alacrity's going to come in and clear out some spiderlings. He can keep going with the Sleight of Fist if he can spot one of them out. He does get a little bit of a gold influx, and there you go. There's a bit more. Why the hell not?
Yeah, the one awkward thing for Ember into Broodmother is that sure you get Sleight of Fist and all of these creeps, but it's really awkward if there are too many. You're kind of stuck in that Sleight of Fist for a very long time, so you kind of have to consider when you use that in your initiation, in your gank attempts, and just watch yourself because you might end up in the wrong part of the town with those Sleight of Fists.
Oh, Sam H, he's on the wrong part right now, John. Sam H, he's going to run away. Alacrity, he committed all his remnants to try and secure the kill, but in the end, he just needed one Sleight of Fist afterwards, and he didn't really have the mana for it. Very unfortunate stuff there for Alacrity. But very lucky indeed for Sam H, who was able to survive. Meanwhile, bottom lane, Joe Cam going to be chased down by Tino. Tino, he won't go for the complete dive into the tier 1 tower. He's not willing to risk it into the lion. Let's get back to farming though, because Tino, he did fall a little bit behind in terms of farm. Not really behind In Your Dream though, who is struggling even more on the Wraith King. But both carries not really farming up that well quite yet. So I wanted to get back into that jungle and start catching up. I suppose
this is the point where it gets a little bit more passive as well. Like, giving a solo lane to Joe-Cam, it's still 10 minutes in. You're not really looking for a push opportunity. And you can see the movements of GXR, they're just kind of stuck in their topple though.
Yeah, Paulson may have messed up here. He tried to go for the Illuminate onto Sam H's Spinelings. Looks like in the end he will not be completely punished by Sam H. But Alacrity, he's going to come in from the side with... I thought it was another haste rune for a second, but he just kind of ran in. Sam H. Maybe alright. Alacrity not going to bother going for the Remnant forward. Just force Sam H back on that Broodmother, and Sam H will be able to passively heal up in his spiderwebs anyway. Not too big of a deal for him. Like how Ember just...
It's rather different as well, the build up on Sam H, right? Like, we tend to see Broodmothers go for a fast mech nowadays into Guardian Greaves or the pipe. Seeing that urn, you know, Sam H wants to be more aggressive. He wants to be all over the place. He hasn't left this lane yet, and he is risking a lot here.
And Silka Bowler continues to save him. And there is a big smoke coming out now. Omega, the Inkswell on Mac could set up for a kill on Alacrity, and he is pretty low on mana. They're going to go in now. They'll try to make it happen. Alacrity, he can't remnant to his actual remnants. The silence is going to come out, and he is screwed. He will go down. Omega finding a very valuable pick-off there onto Alacrity. And, well, for Alacrity, he's had a bit of an obsession here with Sam H at this top lane. He does end up finally getting punished for it.
Yeah, and this opens up the push now for Omega up top. Once you clear out this tier 1 top, the jungle, it's not going to be safe. This is where you get a bit scared for GXR. They're relying on jungle stacks in this top area to build up. Now they're going to be stuck mainly in their triangle where your Dream's already playing, but they need to clear that bot tier 1 to get control in the bot jungle to make up for it. And they're just not set up for a push yet.
Paulson, Blinding Light going to keep him alive. Sam H won't go for the chase down. Meanwhile, Mizu and Alacrity going to move into that dire jungle. Immediately Sam H, seeing Alacrity, is going to back off. He doesn't really want to mess with the Ember right now. They say that he has stuck around the small camp, but Alacrity going to go for the dive in and take that camp away. In fact, now he does see Sam H. It's a bit of a cheeky sleight of fist out, and Sam H, he's still going to be just fine. The GXR, they are kind of stuck playing a bit of a farming game right now. It doesn't feel like their draft can really do too much yet. But as I say that, they are grouping up in that Dire jungle and moving forward. But all they're getting are Spiderlings is Omega. They move into that mid-tier 1. Chains out. Tino, he'll rage through it. They do find CML, but they're going to Remnant forward. They'll try for it, but the Inkswell was there onto Mac. Alacrity going to move back in, just trying to kite in and out, gets the chains off, and does kill off CML. Now into another. They found Tino's alive still with the RP. It's only going to land on Mac, and there's your Winter's Curse out now. That will make sure they cannot go any further. That's very unfortunate for GXR, getting both Mac and Tino very, very low in terms of HP, but just not low enough.
It's the defensive infest. Tino goes in last minute to get Mac up to HP. He didn't die to the burst. They waste Finger. They waste a lot of big spells. They find the mid-tier 1. So that's still a slight win for GXR, but they commit so many cooldowns that you kind of want more. You're not quite satisfied with that kind of result yet. Still, you get more map control.
Well, Mac, he's got the 8th Remnant there onto Alacrity. Now the silence out, and that'll be enough. No, surely not. Alacrity, he'll get away. It is a lot of slow out, but he's going to survive it. Or Splinter Blast, not going to be enough.
Oh,
that T1 mid tower, it's going to drop Joe Cam. He'll be chased down. Mac is going to be able to find him. They do get Joe Cam at least. Mizu, he's still being chased down, but it looks like they're not going to be able to keep up with the Magnus. He'll be alright to back off. But Omega now, they can really start controlling this map up.
You're losing control in your triangle area. Sam H is going to be able to just keep getting those webs out. He's got insatiable hunger up. The one thing that saved Alacrity there was that there were so many Spiderlings for the Sleight of Fist that he was invulnerable for such a long time that the Remnant managed to get away. So it actually worked in his favor, but...
The Remnant, Inkswell, all of it going to be there, but no, the Inkswell doesn't really land. Still, the silence should be enough. Alacrity again going to survive, but he does go down to Sam H. Just barely. To another, Sam H still posturing. We'll throw the Silken Bowler out onto Mizu as now Polison is going to get jumped on from the backside. Mac trying to get the Coddle down and might just be able to find him and does. Tino taking him out. To In Your Dream. They're going to try and turn here with Mizu, who does have the RP, but now a great curse out from Shanks. Spike might be enough, but no, Mizu, he gets the RP off, but where's your follow-up damage? They have the heals out. In Your Dream, he's going to lose his first life. Now they can just keep going. In Your Dream, just nowhere near tanky enough to be able to try and fight this one out. And we talked about that Wyvern during the draft, John. It was going to be very powerful into the draft of GXR. And you're seeing it every time they try to go for a team fight. As long as that curse is up, they can't really fully commit.
It's just very difficult. They need a way to reach into the back line. Without Alacrity in these fights, it's hard to find that squishy support sets and build off from there. So they need to take these fights with Alacrity up. It's harder to do it without him. And they need to wait for a couple of these items as well. Get some wards out, get some control back on the map. We are seeing Alacrity rush a BKB. Really just wants to protect himself. He knows damage isn't an issue, mobility isn't an issue. He just needs to stay alive. Use his spells to maximize that in power. And GXR seeing a couple of those big spells used despite blowing the RP themselves. They can look for a pick-off.
They can. Where do they go, though? Still hanging around that top side. Omega, they're going to seem to be aware of this, because they do back off. Hino does not show himself at all. Mid lane, Paulison. It's going to be alright. Mizu does TP in to make sure that the dive can't happen there from Sam H. I say that, Paulison's still hanging around with the Illuminate, gets rid of a lot of Spiderlings, but he is dropping quite low. He'll make it for now.
Yeah, it's Paulison's Vanguard is really saving him from the aggression from Sam H. He's trying to rush that Crimson Guard for his team to really take out the Spiderling damage. Like, it blocks so much that once you've got the active up, the Spiderling army from Sam H doesn't feel like a threat at all. You're going to worry about the main hero, but the small damage you're taking from these Lings are not going to do anything at all. So it's a great build-up from Paulison. He's almost there. He just lacks a recipe, and that's going to allow GXR to take more fights, not be too scared of the Spider. The side of Omega, though, I think they've got to make something happen. They are smoked up. Just need to find a good hero to really commit to.
See if they can find one. Heading up top, what's the northwest? Mizu, not going to be spotted out yet. They'd like to start with Jokam, I'm sure. You generally just want to catch out the Lion and get rid of all that disable, but Jokam's going to hide in the tree line and looks like he's going to be alright. Nobody actually going to be found out at all. Omega not finding the target they wanted. They'll just keep control over this dire jungle instead. GXR, you could just tell they're not willing to fight right now. It's just a very tough time without Mizu having a Blink Dagger up on that Magnus to really be able to initiate. You've got a Blink on Jokam, but it just doesn't really seem like enough right now. On the brighter side, though, Alacrity can still use that double slider fist to just clean up the Spiderlings. That's exactly what he's doing right now, and that's one way to farm. He's going to remnant forward right onto the Wyvern. He wants to get rid of Shanks. Cold Embrace, though, going to save the day, but Alacrity going to keep going. But now Tino, he'll show up. Alacrity still going after Shanks. Will be able to take him out. Nobody punishing the Ember for that. But now, Aether Remnant does land. They've got the silence off, and they will eventually get the punishment in. There's Paulison. Being chased down by Sam H, will be left alone. It's going to be a Wyvern going down for the sake of Alacrity on the Ember, and of course, Jokam on the Lion. Definitely not a very positive trade for GXR whatsoever.
It took way too long to kill off the Winter Wyvern. It's another infest coming through from Tino to stall it out, and the BKB just fades. That's a fresh BKB from Alacrity. That's what he's been farming the past 10 minutes, and he only finds a Winter Wyvern and still loses his life. Not great news for the side of GXR. Omega now can start looking for those objectives. They're pressuring top. They still have complete control of this top jungle. And GXR is still building farm up. The Radiance is pretty much flying out in your dream. They need more. They need that Blink to be up on Mizu. They need this Magnus to at least RP 2 heroes, skewer them back in a good spot, and get the pickoffs from there. They also have a Crimson Guard up. That could help with durability, but they still have issues finding that angle here.
Start out in your dream. He's going to start a fight, but in the backside, it looks like they've already got Paulison. Coddle's gone. In your dream now. Dropping quite low. Meanwhile, CML. Being chased down by Alacrity, but you've already lost that reincarnation life on your Wraith King. And Sam H, he's having his way with him. Nobody's helping out in your dream. Mizu's dropping as well. Jokam's trying to come in and help out, but it might just be too late, and it will be. They do get Mac with the finger, but at what cost? Alacrity gonna be orchided up. He's gone. And Shanks, he's been doing a great job on this Wyvern, John. With the orchid up, he could just hold down Alacrity. You saw in the middle of that team fight, they just don't know who to aim first. All they seem to know is they've got to try and get Shanks. But he's making it very hard for them to catch him out. And if they can't catch him, they can't fight. In fact, now Paulison does show himself for a second, but he's going to get punished immediately. So Jokam does come in and apparently just deafens us all with that Earth Spike. But it won't matter. Sam H, he's going to be able to leave the building.
Yeah, it's the threat, right? He's running up to Paulison. we saw Paulson die way too quick. I don't even know if he got the Crimson Guard active. It didn't look like he managed to use it, so you lost value there. The issue for GXR is it takes them too long to kill heroes because it's only Alacrity who can jump in fast. Still don't have the blink on Mizu, so Alacrity can come in. He doesn't have damage because he went for BKB first. No Maelstrom, no Desolator, no crit stick, nothing of value for getting these kills. The durability in Omega is way too high, so they need to find a way to back up Alacrity when he does commit. They need that blink. Mizu needs to get some space out. He's got the jungle for himself, but he's sharing it with the Raid King summons. The Roche is now being taken by Omega. It's not going to take too long. They've got a lot of damage flying through. There should still be enough time to respond from GXR, but they don't have wards in the area. They're not even aware the Roche is happening.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like they can really try and fight this one out. They're currently just trying to deal with the spiralings of Sam H. Yeah, I think this Roshan is just certainly gone to the side of Omega. It's already going to be hard enough to fight in the pit as GXR. There you go. Aegis is up now on Tino. It's not like Tino's farmed that well on the Lifestealer either. He's just got a great kind of draft with his team. GXR, they are really struggling to make their own draft work, as now Mac, he might run into Alacrity with that Aghanim Scepter now. Alacrity, pop the Flame Guard and show himself, but Yule Scepter is out from Mac into the Aether Remnant. He does have some silences out, gets another one. It doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Alacrity, he will Remnant away, but he's not quite far enough. It won't matter though, because Mac, he did not have the Aether Remnant. So Alacrity will survive, but you saw how fast he kind of gets 100 to 0'd here by Mac. It's definitely not a great sign for Alacrity.
No, it's a toughie. He doesn't want to commit to BKB as well. He knows he doesn't have turn potential. He needs so much more on the Ember. He's taking the backseat, way behind in farm. They're kind of putting all their eggs into In Your Dream, and this is something we've seen GXR do multiple times. When they fall behind, IYDs are win condition.
Oh, here we go. They found Alacrity this time, but he will BKB. He really had no choice in the matter as the Orchid was there, but now Paulson, that Spirit Vessel, is not going to be enough. No, it will be. They do get him. Sam H even gives the tip over to Paulson. Pauluson's had a very tough game already due to Sam H, and now they'll lose that T2 mid tower. The game only gets even harder. You talked about In Your Dream and kind of all the weight being on his shoulders. He's going to need to show up soon to try and make something happen for the team. He has been farming for quite a while, and I suppose maybe he just opts to go for the BKB before he does get involved with his team. Even with the BKB though, I'm not sure if that's going to be enough.
It'll at least allow him to hold his ground and take fights. What they need is to reveal this blink on Mizu.
Janx gonna go in, try to get some vision out. They want the Wraith King, but it looks like they will go on to Mizu first. Tino's got the Basher out. Mizu, he's been silenced up. He could not sustain the damage output. And now In Your Dream will just TP right away. As Shanks saw him on the tail end of that TP and may have been able to get the curse off in time. Looks like he just didn't really react fast enough. And but now Sam H, he's just gonna chase down Paulson again. They still can't deal with this Broodmother. Sam H is still having the freest time of his life.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have something natural like, say, the Darkseer. You don't have the Grimstroke on your side, so even if you can clear these Spiderlings with your Ember Sleight of Fist, you don't really get value on hitting the actual Broodmother, and that's a big issue. Sam H is not scared at all. Go where he wants to. It frees up space for GXR to look at this bot tier 2, take it out. And for GXR's end, their high ground defense is really good. RP is a great high ground spell because it's such a tight spot at the ramps, so you can kind of play with that. But we need to see Mizu actually work that blink. He's had it for a while. He hasn't been able to blink RP. The high ground will give him an opportunity to do that. The question is the rest of his team ready? We haven't seen itemization really come through from Alacrity, and IYD's just been kind of focused on farm still.
It's been a very tough time indeed. Paulson, I mean, you've got the Keeper of the Light with the Illuminate to really slow things down, but even that can be quite challenging. You see Tino, he just kind of stands his ground through all that damage and doesn't really flinch too much. They're trying. Tino, another ink swell out. They do hex him up this time. Maybe they can get the kill, but no. RP up though, Mizu. He's going to try and turn with the Winter's Curse. He's going to kind of put them in the, stop them in their place. They can't get the damage out. CML's gone already. Mizu drops as well. Tino just getting to work. He'll find Polis on the Keeper of the Light, but the buybacks are coming in. Cold Embrace will save the day, but there's the finger out. At least get the Aegis. They find more though. Mizu going to be targeted, does end up dying in the Magnus, and now they'll go straight onto In Your Dream. He does have the Reincarnate life though, so he should be safe. Mac though, being protected by the Life Stealer, will be able to take down Alacrity, and they'll just keep going high ground. Down the line now as well, that'll be Joe Camp to drop. This is looking very, very tough for GXR at this point. They'll buy back. But look at this, Mac. Cold Embrace going to save the day once again. They'll hex him up though. Make sure he can't get out. Onto Shanks they go, but he is going to be able to TP away. So it looks like in the end, Omega, they do dive a bit too deep. They only end up getting the range racks. So not the worst case scenario for GXR, but it was a lot of buybacks being committed.
Yeah, it cost them 4 buybacks to hold on. They still lose a lot here, so they don't really find a counter kill beyond, I think, CML dying and Mac. Not the best situation. The RP was nice, but we're still seeing issues with Shanks just being allowed to Winter's Curse in the backline. And I'm looking at Shanks, his build-up, man. He's going for Witchblade next. It doesn't feel like a support Wyvern, this build.
No.
It looks like a core Wyvern. He's got the power treads as well. All he lacks is maybe the Ags being queued up, and that would be the core Wyvern build, the classic core Wyvern.
Let me tell you though, John, Orchid plus Witch's Blade on Wyvern is so broken. It is so much damage. It's not even funny how annoying that Witch's Blade is going to be. And you'll see it soon as Alacrity. He's going to Remnant away. There was no Orchid that time around to hold him down, and he had the BKB anyway. But once his Witch's Blade is up, it's not like it's going to change the game because Omega, they're already winning. It just makes it that much more difficult to deal with the side of Omega. The slow is insane, the damage output is insane. It obviously works well with the Orchid as well. It works through the Winter's Curse, because it counts your Winter Wyvern damage for some reason. It's, Oh, and they found an Enchanted Quiver too. There you go.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, yeah. That's just fantastic. Right now, they've actually got the Elven Tunic running on Shank, so it's not something you usually see in supports, but it's been working out, and his control is amazing. GXR, they have finished up this Ags on Alacrity, so you've got more remnants to play with, more damage coming through, more bursts that can happen. They need to leverage these items. Like, we've only seen one RP with a blink, wasn't that great, it's already in the high ground. They need to be able to reach Shanks, kill off the Winter Wyvern, and try to go from there. But it's a lot easier to say that than do that because of Shank's positioning. He's just very disciplined in the back. He can sit way back with a Blink Dagger, and GXR needs to find a way to reach back. They just have to kill the Winter Wyvern first. There's no other way.
GXR group up again. Mid lane, gonna chain up. Mac on the Void. Silken Bowler does fly out. Inkswell is there. Mac, who are we going to aim for? They'll go for In Your Dream. But there's Joe Cam in with the Hex, trying to save In Your Dream. But here comes Tino as well. The Cold Embrace again with the Infest, going to save the day. Mac will barely survive with his life intact as now Tino. He does get caught by the stun, but he has help behind him. Mizu with the RP trying to just lock him down even longer, but the damn Lifestealer just won't die, and now the Winter's Curse out. Shanks again saving the day. In fact, Mac now going to jump in for a 3-man silence. It's looking so darn bad for the side of GXR, or maybe not. Maybe they can turn, but no, In Your Dream. He does end up dying. Sam H is on a triple kill. But this Winter Wyvern, how much more work does Shanks need to do?
Just on point. Not just Shanks, but I think we really have to commend Tino with all the infests.
Yeah.
Every single time he saves it, he gets the saves on Mac. It's always Mac as well, throwing his body forward. And they just make it work. And we haven't even talked about this. Like, they play amazingly well, but Sam H is 10-0. 10-0-12 on the Brood, and it's not even the most spectacular part of this game. Omega's just being really clean.
Oh, Mac, that's a really nice initiation already getting the reincarnate life. They've got Joe Cam as well. There goes Mizu. And now in your dream, he's just going to be eaten alive by the Spiderlings. So there you go. GG well played is called Omega. They came into this series not the favorites, John, but it's a great Game 1 performance. And I think a lot of it was just based on draft. I mean, we did talk about it. That Wyvern was going to do so much work this game, and well, there you go. Shanks pulls off a really nice performance. You did commend as well the life stealer performance by Tino with the great infest coming out, and I do agree with you on that. But I think if you were to choose an MVP in this Game 1, you'd have to say Shanks.
100%. 100%. That Winter Wyvern just turned a lot of those fights. The
Oh,
high
Sam
ground
H.
fight with the RP. Sam H having the perfect game as well. I think the impact of Sam H, it's in the backlines. He denied the top jungle, one of those things for the Brood. He won out his lane, as you'd expect. And from there on, he gave the openings for his team to do that. But the execution to save themselves from those fights, the setup for those counterplays, I think, Shanks takes that cake. And, they're not scared to experiment the itemization. Like, on the Winter Wyvern, it's not too strange. Sam H, he rushed a Spirit Vessel into his Guardian Greaves. Then he went Octarine. Really not what you see in most Broods. You tend to see Mech, Arcanes, Mech, Guardian Greaves, Hood of Defiance, Pipe, and then it's kind of done. You go Ags after. But Sam H with the Octarine, he was constantly spamming out the Bola with his Ag Shard. And that just helped him to really just not give any openings at all to Galaxy Racer. So very clean game coming out from Omega. We'll have to see if they can maintain that and whether or not Galaxy Racer can bounce back. This early start from GXR, not typical of what we've been seeing from them. We tend to see them dominate for 25 minutes. This time around, they just kind of floundered in that early game.
I think it was just a misdraft there from GXR. I'm sure throughout Game 2 they'll change things up and be a bit more wary of this draft going into Game 2. But for now, it is MLPDotA and johnxfire, and of course we are going to head off to a short break. But right after that break, we'll be back with Game 2's draft.